Hi guys, welcome back again to the channel and to a new video. First of all, let me say a big thank you to all of you who subscribe to the channel and the Patreons who are supporting me. A few weeks ago we reached the 10,000 subscribers mark, which is for me a huge milestone, and I really want to say a big thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please keep posting your questions in the videos. As you have seen, I really love the engagement with the community and I always try to answer you as soon as I can. And I'm really looking forward to 2021 and see what's happening in that year. In this video, we are going to install Arch Linux with the December 2020 ISO. This is something I wanted to do live, actually on a live stream. But because I am in the middle of Europe here in Switzerland and every country in Europe has different rules about the pandemic, I'm trying to organize the next weeks because I want to visit my family, so it's a little bit more complex. And I'm sorry that I'm not able to do this via live stream, but I will try to keep up with you guys in the live stream next month or in February at latest. Now in this video, as I said, we are going to install Arch Linux with the 2020 December ISO, and we are going to install it from scratch with encryption, and we are going to install also i3 on that. And that's because I want to show you actually some changes in i3 that happen with the latest packages. So without further ado, let's get going. So welcome guys, this is the December 2020 base install of Arch Linux. Like I said in the intro, I'm sorry that I cannot do this live this time, but in this video I'm going to install Arch Linux from scratch, and I'm going to do it with encryption, and I'm going to install also i3 quickly because I want to show you some changes that happened recently on the packages. So without further ado, let's get going. So I'm going to look at the monitor most of the time, not at the camera, just for your information. And so let's get started. This is the ISO. I just booted up now a VM from there. And the first thing I'm going to do here, this is probably optionally for you guys if you're installing this, I'm going to hit the E key and add the End key on the keyboard, and I'm going to type in video equal 1920 per 1080 because I wanted to recognize my monitor resolution, and then I just hit enter to start the system. Now there are not really huge changes in this ISO except of course the kernel and some other packages, but nevertheless let's go ahead and install it and see what we can do with that. So it's going to take a second here to boot up. There you go. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to set the fonts a little bigger so that you can see also better on the monitor. So I'm going to type in set font and then ter for the terminus font -132n and hit enter. So it's easier to see for you guys as well. Let me type in exit in here so that we start from scratch. And the next thing I'm going to do is to change my keyboard layout. So let me do this very quickly. I'll just type in load keys and then my layout. -18.1, there you go. Now if you need to find out your keyboard layout, you can type in locale ctl and then list -key maps, and you use the pipe symbol and the grep function to narrow down the search. So the connotation, for example, of the Swiss keyboard is ch, and then hit enter. You can see you get the results there, and you can choose the one you're looking for. So the one I was looking for was the first one, which I already loaded up in memory. So this is done. Now I check for an IP, so I'll type in IP space A to see that I have an Ethernet connection here. And indeed I have one because I'm connected here with a cable. If you have Wi-Fi, you know there is the IWD utility, which I already showed in a previous video. So if you want to check that out, you can click the link that you see on the upper right corner, and I will explain you how to connect to Wi-Fi with that method. Now let's synchronize also the network time protocol since we have an internet connection. So we'll do this by typing in time date ctl and then set-ntp and then true and hit enter. There you go. So let's clean up the terminal and use also refractor to create our mirror list. Refractor comes already installed in the ISO. So we'll do this by typing in refractor -c for country. I'll put in my country here. And then -a, so the age of the server. I'm looking for server which have been synchronized in 6 hours. And then -sort. I'm going to sort them by rate or speed, and then -save. I'm going to save them under /etc/pacman.d and then mirror list and hit enter. There you go. So let's resynchronize the servers by typing in pacman-syy and hit enter, and this is done. So let's type in lsblk. Let's check our disk. So I have here one disk called VDA. On your computer, it might be SDA or something else. Or if you have an NVMe drive, it's going to be maybe NVMe 0 and 1 or something like that. In my case, it's VDA. And this is a UEFI system. So I need to create an EFI partition here. It's mandatory. And I need to create also a root partition, which is mandatory. In this tutorial, I'm going to create also a swap partition. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to do this using gdisk, which is going to create GPT labels. I have also a video on the channel explaining you how you can partition the disk with DOS or GPT labels. So if you're not sure how to do that, you can check that video. So let's use gdisk for this. Let's type in gdisk/dev/vda and hit enter. And I'm going to create first the EFI partition. So I'm going to type in n for new and hit enter. Partition number 1 default is fine. First sector default is also fine. And the last sector defines basically the size of the EFI partition. Now the ArchWiki recommends here at least 260 megabytes. So I'm going to type in plus 260M and hit enter. And it created a partition of a Linux file system type. I want to change this to EFI system partition. And the code to do that with gdisk is EF00 and hit enter. There you go. Now let's create our swap partition. So n for new, partition number 2 default is fine. First sector default is also fine. And the last sector again defines the size of the disk basically. Now the rule of thumb is to make the swap partition the double of the RAM. Although in this machine I have a 8 gigabytes RAM and I'm not going to create a 16 gigabyte swap partition. Now, if you have a 2 gigabytes RAM machine, definitely create at least a 4 gigabyte swap. But if you have a 4 gigabytes or a 8 gigabytes machine, you can safely create probably 4 gigabytes of swap. So this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create a plus 4G gigabytes. And the file system type for this partition, for the swap partition, is 8200 and hit enter. And now we can create our root partition. So let's type in n for new and hit enter. Partition number 3 as default is fine, so we just hit enter here. Same for the first sector and also for the last sector because we want basically this partition to take the remainder of the disk. So we just hit enter here. And the Linux file system type is fine, so we can accept the default. And now we can write the changes to the disk by typing in W and hit enter. There we go. Now we can proceed by accepting the changes here. So we'll type in the Y and hit enter. And the partition table has been written to the disk. So let's clean up the terminal and type in lsbrk. And you can see we have VDA1, VDA2, and VDA3. So let's go ahead and format our partitions. Let's begin with VDA1, our EFI partition. So let's type in mkfs.fat, because it's a EFI partition, it has to be a fat file system, dash capital F32, and the partition name is /dev/VDA1, and hit enter. Now let's make the swap on VDA2. Let's type in mkswap and then /dev/VDA2 and hit enter. And let's activate it by typing in swap on /dev/VDA2 and hit enter. There you go. Now we need to create the encryption on our root partition. So this is done in several steps. The first one, we need to create the encryption. Then we need to open the partition so that we can format it and mount it. So let's create the encryption by typing in encrypt setup and then -y and -v, want to have it verbose, and then lux format, and then the partition name, which is /dev/VDA3, and then we can hit enter. So I'm sure, yes, so I'll type in yes and hit enter, and I'll need to enter my passphrase, and then repeat it. So it's going to take a second here, depending also how big the partition is. There you go. So now what we need to do, we need to open the partition so that we can format it. So to do this, we can type in encrypt setup open, then /dev/VDA3, and then we need to give a name to this partition, which is going to be used by the mapper. So I'm going to call this encrypt root, and then hit enter. Need to enter the passphrase we just created. And again, it's going to take a second here to decrypt. There you go. And now we can format the partition by typing in mkfs.ext4. Now I'm going to use ext4 in this case, and then /dev/mapper. We are going to use the mapper name, and then cryptroot, which is the name we gave to this encrypted partition, and hit enter. And there you go, the partition is formatted. That means now we can mount it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's mount first our root partition by typing in mount /dev/mapper/cryptroot. We're going to mount this under /mount and hit enter. Now we want to mount also the EFI partition into the boot directory, which is not created yet. So let's create that first by typing in mkdir, then /mnt/boot. Remember, you have to create this under the MNT directory, not in the ISO, and then we can hit enter. And now we can mount VDA1 in here. So let's type in mount /dev/VDA1, and we are going to mount this under /MNT/boot and hit enter. Nothing to do with the swap partition, so let's type in lsblk, and you can see we have our mount points. So it looks good. We can install the base packages. So let's go ahead and do that by typing in packstrap/mnt, and then we want to install the base package. I'm going to install the Linux package for the latest Linux kernel, and also Linux-firmware. I'm going to install Vim as an editor, and I'm going to install also AMD-U code because I have an AMD processor here. If you have an Intel processor, you can type in Intel-U code. And that's going to do it for now, so we can just hit enter. And now we just have to wait until the packages are installed. So I'll be back with you in a second, guys. So it took a couple of seconds to install that, actually. You can see that I think it says there 24 seconds. So now let's go ahead and clean up the terminal. We need to generate the file system table where the mount points are stored. So to do this, we can type in gen fstab -U. We are using the UUIDs of the partitions, and then /mnt. And we are going to copy basically this information. We are going to append it, better said, to /mnt/etc/fstab and hit enter. Now let's see the content of the fstab file. So let's type in cat/mnt/etc/fstab. And you can see there we have our root partition first, our EFI partition, and the swap partition. So everything looks good. We can move into the installation by typing in arch-root/mnt. And you can see also the login prompt changed. Now the first thing we're going to do here, we're going to work on the time zones and the locales. So first the time zone. So we need to find out the time zone. So to do this, we can type in time date ctl and then list-time zones, and then the pipe symbol, and we use the grep function to narrow down the search. I'm going to search for the city closest to me, which is Zurich. And you can see this is the time zone I need to put into the system. So to do this, we can type in ln-sf, then /user/share/zone-info/Europe/Zurich. I'm going to link this to /etc/local time and hit enter. There you go. Now we can synchronize the two clocks. So we can type in HW clock, so hardware clock, --sys to HC and hit enter. There you go. Now let's work on the locales. Let's type in vim/etc/locale.gen and hit enter. We need to find out our locales. I'm looking for English US here, which is down here. We're going to select the one with UTF-8. So we need to delete the hashtag here and then save the file and exit Vim. And now we can create the locales by typing in locale-gen and hit enter. There you go. Now we need to create also the locale.conf file. So let's do this by typing in vim/etc/locale.conf and hit enter. I'm going to enter here lang as a string and then the string we just found. So en_us.utf-8. And we can save the file and exit Vim. And we need to also put the keyboard layout into the vconsole.conf file. So let's do this by typing in vim/etc/vconsole.conf and hit enter. And the string is keymap. And the string itself is de_ch-latin1. This is the string we found at the beginning of the video. And then I can save the file and exit Vim. And now we can work on the hostname. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's type in vim/etc/hostname and hit enter. I'm going to call this machine archcrypt. And that's it for me. So I can then save the file and exit Vim. And now we can work on the hosts file. So let's type in vim/etc/hosts and hit enter. Go down here to the end of the file and create a new line. First, the IPv4 address 127.0.0.1, a tab, and then local host. The next line, the IPv6 address ::1, tab, and again local host. And in the last line, 127.0.1.1. Then the host name, archcrypt.local domain, and then a tab again, and again the host name archcrypt. You replace, of course, this accordingly. And then we can save the file and exit Vim. There you go. Let's give a password to the root user. So let's type in passwd and hit enter. Select the new password and retype it. There you go. Now we can go ahead and install the packages we need for the system. So let's do this by typing in pacman -s. The first one is grub, our bootloader. Then EFI boot mgr because it's a EFI system. And then I'm going to install also network manager and also network dash, type here, dash manager dash applet. I'm going to install also dialog and also WPA underscore supplicant. And I'm going to install also mtools and DOS FS tools. These are two packages used for working with FAT file systems. And I'm going to install what else here? Let's install also base-devel and also Linux-headers. And also some packages for our Bluetooth adapters. One is Blues and also Blues-utils. Also CUPS, our printing system, which received an update lately. I'm going to install also XDG-utils and also XDG-user-dirs for user directories and some audio packages. One is ALSA-utils and also Pulse Audio and also Pulse Audio-Bluetooth. I'm going to install also Git and I'm going to install also refractor to have it also available in the installation. So that's going to do it for now. We can just hit enter and accept all the defaults here and proceed with the installation. So again, this is going to take a moment to install and I'll be back with you when it's done. So guys, there you go. The packages are now installed, so we can clean up the terminal. Now, we are using encryption in the system, so there's something we need to change in the mkinitcpio.com file. So let's do that first. Let's type in vim/etc/mkinitcpio.conf and hit enter. So what we need to do here, we need to go to the hooks section and we need to enter here several hooks. So the first one after auto detect, I'm going to enter here keyboard and also key map because I changed actually the keyboard layout. And before file system here, I'm going to check also that encrypt hook is there. So I'm going to type in here encrypt. And I'm going to delete here the keyboard hook, which I already have before. And that's going to do for that. So let's save the file and exit Vim. And we need to recreate the image. So let's type in mkinit cpio-p and then Linux and hit enter. So it's going to take a second to do this. As you can see, the encrypt hook is now in there. It's going to take a couple of seconds to finish the regeneration here. There you go. So let's go ahead and install now the grub bootloader. So let's do this by typing in grub-install, then --target, and then equal x86_64-EFI, and then --EFI-directory equal. You remember the boot directory we created here was /boot, and then --bootloader-id equal grub. And then we can hit enter. It's going to take a second to do that. There you go. Installation finished. No error reported. So now we need to generate the configuration file. So let's do this by typing in grub-mkconfig-o. So the output goes under /boot/grub/grub.cfg. And then we can hit enter. It's going to take a second to do that. There you go. Now, before we continue, we need to also change the configuration file because we are using encryption. That means we need actually to have the UUID of the VDA partition, the root partition, and also we need to put in the configuration file for grub the root path, basically the mapper. So let's do this. We need to find out the UUID of VDA3 first. To do this, we can type in BLKID, the block ID. And you can see there on the 6th line, there is VDA3 with a UUID. So we need that. How can we paste this? Because we are on the console. Well, one way is to basically output this command to a file and then copy the lines we need. So I'm going to do that again, block ID, and then I'm going to basically create a file here in the system called UUID. And if I type in ls, you can see I have UUID there at the end. So now I can type in vim and then UUID. And I go to the VDA3 line here, I hit Y twice to copy the line, and then I can exit Vim. And now I can edit the grub configuration file by typing vim/etc/default/grub and hit enter. And I'll go down here to the grab command line Linux, and to the end of the line, I'm going to press P to paste in the lines. So we have some cleaning up to do here. So let's do that. Let's enter insert mode and let's delete one of the double columns here. And let's type in encrypt device equal UUID equal. Now we need to delete this as we don't need it. And we just go to the UUID. I delete the double quotes. I will end them at the end of the line afterwards. And at the end of the UUID, we just press the colon key. And then we need to define the name of the mapper, which was crypt root. And then we define the root mapper name, which is root equal /dev /mapper /crypt root. There you go. And then we can delete basically the rest. We don't need the rest of the information here. So let me do this. There you go. And actually, I'm going to create an extra line here. So let me check this out. Crypt device and the UUID, crypt root, and the root mapper. That looks good. Then we can save the file and exit Vim. And we need to regenerate the configuration file by pulling up the last 3-4 commands here and hit enter. There you go. So let's go ahead and enable the systems we have in our installation here so that when the machine reboots, they will be enabled. So the first one is network manager. So let's type in systemctl enable and then network manager and hit enter. We'll do the same for the Bluetooth. So we'll replace network manager with Bluetooth and hit enter. And we'll do the same also for cups. So let's type in here cups and hit enter. There you go. Now let's create a user. So let's type in user add -m capital G and then wheel. And the username is Hermano, that's my name. So the M switch is the home directory. The capital G switch creates a supplementary group, which is the wheel group. It has to do with the sudo privileges, which we will configure in a second. So let's hit enter here first and create a password also for the user. So pass wd, then the username and hit enter. Enter the password and retype it. There you go. Now let's type in editor equal vim and then vice sudo and hit enter. We'll scroll down until we find the wheel group we just talked about, which is down here. So we delete the hashtag here, and now every member of the wheel group will have sudo privileges. So there you go. Now this is the base install. It's basically done. Well, we need to try out if it works. So what we can do now, we can type in exit and we need to unmount everything. So let's type in umount -a and hit enter. There you go. And we can reboot the machine. So let's type in reboot and hit enter. And actually I need to remove the ISO from the machine before I can start it up. So let me do this very quickly. I'll go here and remove the ISO. Click apply and start the machine again and go full screen. And if everything went well, we should be greeted by the grab bootloader. There you go, here is grab. So let's hit Arch Linux and we should be asked for the encryption. There you go, that's the encryption there. So let's enter our passphrase and it should continue now to the installation. There you go. So let's type in our username and the password. And we are in the base system. Now I see the resolution is not correct. Actually, I forgot one option in the configuration file for grab. And also to install the terminus fonts. So let's do that quickly. Let's type in sudo pacman -s and then terminus font and hit enter. Enter the sudo password and proceed with install. There you go. So I'll type in sudo set font ter132n. There you go. And let me also change the configuration file for grab again. So sudo vim /etc/default/grub and hit enter. I'm going to go here at the end of this line. Again, you don't have to do this. This is what I did at the beginning of the video. I just need to tell grab to switch the resolution to video equal 1920 per 1080. There you go. And I need to regenerate the configuration file. So sudo grab -mkconfig -o and then /boot /grub.cfg. And let me reboot the machine one more time. This time everything should work fine. So grab will come up again. There you go. Let's start Arch and you can see the resolution is correct. So I'll type in my password. And we are logged in into the system. So again, my username and the password, and there you go. So again, sudo set font ter 132n and my password, and there you go. So a couple of things before we continue here is to enable some of the services for the SSDs and reflector. So the first thing, let's synchronize a network time protocol. So let's type in time date ctl and then set-ntp, then true, and hit enter. And I need to enter my sudo password, and this is done. And we need to synchronize also the hardware clock and the system clock. So let's type in sudo hw clock and then --sys2hc and hit enter. There you go. Now reflector, let's create our mirror list here. So let's type in sudo reflector and then -c for country. Then my country is Switzerland. And age, so -a and then 6 hours, --sort, then rate, so that means the speed again, --save /etc/pacman.d /mirror list, and hit enter. And refresh the servers, sudo pacman -syy, and there you go. So actually, let me go ahead and install one package that I forgot, sudo pacman -s bash-completion. It's gonna help me out here afterwards. So there you go. Now we can still actually enable the fstring timer for your SSD and also the reflector timer so that the mirror list is updated regularly. So first, let's begin with reflector. Let's type in sudo systemctl enable --now, and then let's type in reflector dot timer and hit enter. There you go. Now let's enable the fstring timer. So let's type in sudo systemctl enable --now and then fstream.timer and hit enter. And this is also done. So your SSD will be regularly checked and optimized for performance. Now let's go ahead and install i3 because I want to show you some things in there. So let's go ahead and do that. Sudo pacman -s. So you will need the graphic cards drivers. If you have an Intel card, you can type in xf86-video-intel. If you have an AMD card, you can replace Intel with AMD GPU. And if you have an NVIDIA card, you can replace the whole thing here with NVIDIA and NVIDIA-utils. Now, if you have an older card, I have a video on the channel that shows you what kind of drivers you can install, so make sure to check that out. Now, in this case, I'm on a VM, so I don't need any video drivers. So the first thing I'm going to do is to install the display server. I'm going to install Xorg, the whole group, because it has some fonts there that will be available to me after in i3. Then I'm going to install also the i3 window manager. This includes also i3 status and i3 lock. And I'm going to install also the menu, which is already configured also in i3. I'm going to install also lightdm as a display manager and also lightdm-gtk-greeter and also lightdm-gtk-greeter-settings. And let's see, I'm going to install also ttf-deja vu, some fonts here, and also ttf-liberation, and also the Noto fonts. And let's see, let's install also Firefox. I'm going to install also Nitrogen and PyCom, our compositor, and also LX appearance to change the appearance of eventually the file manager, which is going to be pcman fm. And I'm going to install also materia-gtk-theme and also papyrus-icon-theme. And the last package is xfce4-terminal. And then for now it's going to be enough. So let's just hit enter here and accept the defaults and proceed with the installation. So again, this should not take too long. These packages are not that big. So I'll be back with you in a second, guys. So here we go. The packages are installed. I need still to make one changes to lightdm before I enable it. You might not have to do this, but I have to on this VM. So let me do this by typing in sudo vim/etc/lightdm and then lightdm.conf. And I'm going to go here down to the seed group because I need to change the display setup script, which is here. So I will uncomment this line. And the script I need to run is xrender --output And then the display name is virtual1. Again, you might have to skip this step. This is just because I'm on a VM. -- mode and then 1920 per 1080. There you go. And then we can save the file and exit Vim, and we can enable lightdm by typing in sudo systemctl enable lightdm and hit enter. There you go. While I'm at it, actually, I'm going to install also sudo pacman -s and then the wallpapers of Arch Linux. So Arch Linux -wallpaper and hit enter. And let's install these as well. There you go. So everything is done. We can reboot the machine and we should be able now to see lightdm when the machine reboots. So let's do this. Let's hit Arch Linux, enter our encryption, and let's see if lightdm comes up. And there you go. Well, it has no backgrounds, but we will check this later. So let's enter the password here. And we are in i3. So standard configuration here, I'm just gonna hit enter to accept the defaults of the configuration file and also for the mod key. Now look what happened when I hit enter here. I did nothing wrong actually, but we have an error in the configuration file, and that's the update that happened a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, into the i3 packages. So what happened there? Let's have a look. Let's click on show errors. You can see here there is a duplicate key binding in the configuration file, and the key binding with duplication is the D. That actually is the key binding for D menu. So let's explore this and see what's wrong in there. So let's edit the configuration file. Let me actually close this. And before actually I can do this, I need to change again the keyboard layout here in the terminal. So let me do this by typing in set xkbmap ch. There you go. Now let's click again, edit config, and I can close this terminal. So let's see what happened here. Let's search for D menu. So D menu, and you can see there are basically two key bindings with the same key combination. That's why we have an error there. So we have one here which says exec no startup ID menu D menu run, sorry, which is going to run basically D menu, the D menu we know. Or we have also the other one which is going to run i3 D menu desktop. So this is actually going to look for desktop shortcuts. So let me give you an example. If I use this one, it's going to basically look for LX appearance as LX appearance. But if I'm using this one, it's going to look for LX appearance as customize look and feel. So it's really up to you the one you want to use. I want to use the second one. So I'm just going to comment this. And I can now save this file and exit Vim and reload i3 with mod shift R. And you can see the error is not anymore there. So now we can proceed by configuring our i3 window manager here. And did I actually install nitrogen? Let me check this out. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. So the first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and actually configure our keyboard. So let me open up the terminal and type in vim.config/i3/config. And I'll go at the end of the file with Control N here and insert a few lines. So the first one is going to be for my keyboard. So I'll type in here keyboard. And the command to execute is exec set xkbmap-ch. And I'm going to run this in the background. And the next one is going to be nitrogen, although it's not yet configured, but we're going to do this in a second. So nitrogen. And the command to execute is exec nitrogen -- restore. And the next one is going to be pacman, our compositor, which the command is going to be exec pacman. I'm going to put the fade option here. There you go. For now, this should be enough. So let's save the file and exit Vim and reload i3 with mod shift R. I'm going to configure very quickly also my terminal here. I'm going to disable the scroll bars and delete the menu bars there, and also not display the borders. I'm going to change here the fonts to notosans mono regular, and I'm going to increase the font size here to, let's say, 16. There you go. and click close. Then you can close the terminal with Mod Shift Q and reopen it up, and you see we have no borders there. Now I'm gonna still change also the fonts here in the configuration file. So I'm gonna search for Pango. You guys, I have also more tutorials for i3 on the channel, so if you want then more customization, you can check those out. I'm gonna change this to notosans mono, and I'm gonna change the size here instead of 8 to 12, and save the file and exit Vim, and reload with Mod Shift R, so I can see my fonts a little bit better. Now let's download actually a nice wallpaper, shall we? Well, actually we do have already now wallpapers we installed from Arch. So let's search for nitrogen. And let's go to preferences and go to add a directory. File system root, user, share, backgrounds, and Arch Linux, and click select. Click OK. And now we have our wallpapers there. So let's select one. I'm gonna go here for a nice, well, I'm gonna go for the snowy since we have snow right now. So I'm gonna check this one and click automatic here and zoom fill and click apply. And let's quit nitrogen. And you can see we have our wallpaper here. Now let's go ahead and search for LX appearance. Now, if I type in LX appearance, you see nothing happens here. But if I search for customize, you can see customize look and feel. And here is LX appearance. So let's search, so let's go for the material dark here. And for the icon theme, I'm gonna go for appearance and click apply. And then close this up. And let's do also our light DM GTK greeter wallpaper. Now the thing that we need to use sudo privileges. So we do this with a terminal. So let's type in sudo and then light DM dash GTK dash greeter dash settings and hit enter. Enter our sudo password. And so let's select also here the theme. I'm going to go with material dark and the icons also papyrus. And for the background here, again, I'm going to go to file system, user, share, backgrounds, and Arch. And this guy, I'm going to choose here. Let's see. I don't know. Let's choose sunset. I don't know what that looks like. Doesn't matter. And click save. And we can click close. We can close the terminal and exit once i3 with Mod Shift E and see if our wallpaper in the greeter is there. Well, there you go. That's a nice wallpaper. And then we can just enter our password and we are back in i3. Now I want to change also the transparency. You saw I put actually pacman in the configuration file, but transparency is not working. So let me check here in the preferences, appearance, and background transparent. Now you can see, although the compositor is working, it's not available because I need to change one option in the configuration file for pacman. This is because of my virtual machine. So let me do this by typing in sudo vim /etc/xdg/pacman.conf. Enter my sudo password, and I need to search for the vsync option, which is there. There you go. So I need to basically comment this line with an hashtag and comment the other one out. So the option is false, and then we can save this file and exit Vim. Let me close this, and we need to exit once i3. So let's do this. And again, enter my password and mod enter. And there you go, we have transparency. So this is a little too transparent for my taste. So I'm going to go back here to appearance and go to 85%. There you go. And this is going to do it. Now we have here, if I open a new terminal, you see we have the windows, but I want to have the gaps. The gaps are not there. So how can we change this? Well, let's do that. Let's open up Firefox and let's search here for i3 gaps. And we'll go here, let me check this for English, and we'll go here to the GitHub project. We'll scroll down the page here. There is actually a template that we can copy here. You find an example configuration in the wiki, and we can copy this code and right click and copy. Let's open up the terminal, and we need to again edit the configuration file. And I'm going to put this before the commands I actually did before. So I'm going to enter an empty line here and then hit Shift Enter. I'm going to accept the paste There you go. And exit, well, save and exit Vim. And again, I'm gonna close this up and exit once i3. I think it's enough to reload it, but just to make sure. And let's see what happens now if I hit mod enter and I get mod enter. No gaps there, right? But now if I hit mod shift G, I am asked which gaps do you want to change. I want to change the inner gap, so with I. Now with shift plus, look what happens. We have our gaps there. Now it's fine for me here, so I just hit escape and close one of the terminals, and now I have my gaps available. So I can change also the split. I go to vertical here, and there you go. So there you go, guys. This is the installation of Arch Linux with encryption and the i3 window manager with the news that I just showed you. If you see that error, nothing big really, just change the key binding or choose the key binding you want to use. So if you have any question about the video, let me know in the comments below and I will try to answer you as soon as I can. So there you go, guys. This is the installation of Arch Linux with i3 and encryption with the December 2020 ISO. If you have any question about the installation or the video, let me know in the comments below. I will try to answer you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by visiting our Patreon website or donate via PayPal to our website as well. A big special thank you also to our Patreons who are supporting our work. I really appreciate you guys. I couldn't really produce these videos without you. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.